Hi everyone, welcome to this new show, this episode 12 of The Water Show. Hi Björn.
Hi, Antoine. How are you? What a
Well,
fancy music we have in the background.
oh, yeah,
You have
yeah.
to stop this, right? So it's a kind of French music. How are you, my friend?
I'm pretty okay. I mean, to crack a secret for everyone, we were preparing for that show yesterday with Björn, and when we were preparing, we noticed that we both had a lot of contact cases within the family. So we thought today might be the COVID show where we both have COVID. So you don't know. The good thing is that we are online. So even if you have COVID and I have COVID, we're not giving it to anyone. So that's the beauty of it. But aside from that, I'm pretty okay. And you?
True. And one more point. It's a birthday of my son. So
Happy birthday.
congratulations, Eric. So let's go. I'm ready.
Are you ready? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Then let's kick it off.
Alles.
So we are officially inside the real water show. So I'll leave the opening word to Björn. So the floor is all yours once you've finished playing with your tablet.
No, I just switched the Wi-Fi out because sometimes we need more bandwidth. So the first thing is, welcome everybody. Welcome to our show. Our presenter, our partner today, unfortunately, is top secret because it's a branch of a big holding, and big holdings have, even our water industry, they have regulations, and so they had to ask for permission, and the permission didn't received us in time, so we couldn't display the name and the logo. But by the way, the brand supported us. Other would most probably jump away, but they said, hey, we would stay with you because we gave you our commitment. So thanks again, John, for supporting us, and next time you will be again our guest or host, whatever. But by the way, why not, Antoine, why not having a kind of game out of that? Why not asking our audience who could be our partner, so that everybody has one hint into the comments who our partner today is, and I will inform the winner person after the show, and the winner person will get one of the mugs. Antoine, do you agree on this?
That sounds like a good deal.
Cool, great. So okay, let's start directly. And our topic today, I mean, digitalization is disrupting the water industry. Do we need still engineers? This is our topic, and yeah, let's talk about this. And the introduction is a little bit. I'm an engineer. As most of you, I started environmental engineering at the University of Applied Science in Germany. And what I have studied 16 years back, I'm not sure that this is still needed. I mean, look, right? Alexa can cook me a coffee, can book my flight, right? Mercedes can bring me to the next meeting while I'm sleeping. YouTube and Netflix know me better than my wife, right? Meanwhile, so that means we are living all in the digital world. Everything gets automated, even small or simple sales calls, sales talks, you can digitize. At the same time, we educate our engineers in the same way as we did years ago. That means with these two things, to design a wastewater treatment plant. So the question is that still needed? Do we have to spend hours and weeks on PNIDs, PNFDs, proposals for tenders, things like this? I mean, we are on the stage where this gets automated, where we get the software to do this, where we get, machine learning, where we get artificial intelligence, and so on and so on. And furthermore, Mercedes, coming back a little bit to an industry which, I'm a German, so I'm very, familiar with the automotive industry. So that means they got a level 3 approval. So that means the S-Class, you can go into the Mercedes, and the Mercedes is allowed to drive you on the motorway up to 60 kilometers while you're sleeping in the back. So this is the approval we have. And I'm pretty sure that you all would agree that, a Mercedes, to drive a Mercedes is more complex for an artificial intelligence as to design a wastewater treatment plant, right? So let's think about that, and that's allow me the question, because Mercedes did this shift. They are still looking for good engineers, but they are also looking for engineers, or let's say more for IT specialists. And my question I really have is, do we really have enough IT specialists in our industry, Antoine? Do you know companies with IT specialists where they really pushing the button, going forward into the digital world? Will the engineer, the study I did 16 years back, this will be the same in 10 years? I don't believe that.
Okay, let me ask you a question a bit differently.
Okay.
Um, I remember when I was a kid, we were going to holidays with the car, and I was responsible for the map.
Oh,
So
yeah.
my father was giving me a map, and I was looking on the map and deciding which route we would follow.
Hmm.
And at that time, if I was to go at the other end of the city, I would never take a map to go at the other end of the city. I know how to go there, and in wrong cases, in worst cases, I would go wrong and get lost. But I'm gonna find my way back.
Hmm.
Nowadays, I'm in my car, and I have to decide which of the where I go out of the highway because I need to do my groceries. I'm asking Google. Google
Yeah,
Maps tells me go out there. Now the
exactly.
question I have is that a good thing? Because honestly, I don't know. Today I would have big difficulties myself to go inside a city and to find my way without Google Maps. And
True.
if I go to the next generation, if I go to my daughters, I can bet you they will never know what a map is. So when I was at engineering school, I was told most of the time software is going to have your back because,
Mhm.
come on, software is not a new thing. Hydraulic modeling was already around in the 80s, in the 90s. It was already existing when I was in
True.
engineering school. Of course, it was existing. But they told me you never know. Maybe you're one day in a restaurant and you are just having a good lunch because in France that's kind of typical way to have a meeting. You have a lunch with the mayor of the city, and he asks you, "Do you think that my drinking water supply is going to be sustainable?" And you just have your brain, um, your pen, and you can write a bit on the table. That's all you have. And I still believe you need to understand stuff in order to let them be digitized.
You're fully right. And that's why I'm not saying, hey, the engineer in the form I studied will extinct. I'm saying in future, we will see a hybrid model between, let's say, the classical engineering who is able to go, let's say, with a pen and a piece of paper, and he can take the major, parameters, and he can design somehow the wastewater treatment plant. But in the end, he's also able to understand all the languages, to understand software, to understand how machine learning works, and so on. And he's able to connect these both worlds. I think that's the future, and it's not the future that we stick to the pen and the the pencil, and the piece of and the sheet of paper. That we really go to the next level. That we say, okay, we need this knowledge also to be the new engineer in future. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying in 10 years, definitely, the university, they have to change their program. They have to bring this also into the study, that you get this, into the head of the people, right? Because we need this. Pretty sure.
Okay, what I propose you, Björn, is we will be going a bit deeper because right now I think Ryan has a point. We still need engineers, but
Yeah, but
let's go.
not the engineers we know from the past. That's the point. The point is really we need engineers with IT knowledge. That is the point. We need a different class of engineer, different
Okay,
type, or call it this way.
let's. We were scratching the surface. Let's now go
Okay.
in the depth. What I propose you, I'm just going to propose you a four-step framework, and then we can dive into that four-step framework and discuss some examples and agree to disagree because that's usually what we do. So the four steps are: first, gather data. If you go to a digitization effort, the first thing you have to do is to gather data. And most of the time, people think digitization is about having a cool computer doing all the stuff or a cool smartphone doing all the stuff. But long before all of that, there's this very single first step, which is to gather the data. So that's step one.
Correct.
Step
Mhm.
two is the digital twin. Now, digital twin is, let's say, the fancy buzzword about it, which is used right now, but there are many different types of digital twin. Basically, when you have a map, the map which I was mentioning before, the map is a digital twin of the road. I mean, you cannot take your car and take it on the map. If you have the map, it's just a representation of the road. So there are many levels of digital twin, but you need at some point to have this representation of what you're dealing with. So that's level two. Level three is now you have your digital twin, but on top of that, that digital twin is active. So you have a process modeling, which is running on that digital twin. You have artificial intelligence, or you have machine learning, or whatever you want, but it is active and it's giving you some insights. It's telling you there's something
Mhm.
which is happening, you shall do something. So that's level three. But the human is still in charge. And today, all the digitization, at least from the one I know, if you know something else, tell me in the chat. I'd be really interested. But all the digitization efforts, they stop there. Yet, there is a fourth stage. And the fourth stage is to say, okay, if already my digital twin is computing, is working, is telling me you should do that, why doesn't he actually do it? And he would be just operating the plant and then informing me as an operator and telling me, you know, I've done exactly that. You can still reverse it and change it. So
Mhm.
that is the framework I'd propose for a discussion today. Do you agree with the framework?
Well, let's ask. I mean, let me ask you a question. Where did you got the framework from? Is it something you have developed by your own, or is it from your one of your fancy studies you're already reading? Or
It's neither nor. I mean, it's something I've been stealing from my guests. I mean, I had
okay, okay,
many digitization guests on my podcast, and all had different shades of that framework. So to me, that framework is like the average or the summary of what they've been telling me.
okay. Then I agree. But let's say I would like to give you also a glimpse of our industry, right? Because I mean, we are doing this show for the industry, and I was checking a little bit how the industry is understanding the digitalization. So, and I went to Nihus. It's one of the APCs. By the way, I'm not sure, Antoine, it's a little bit off topic. Have you realized that they changed a little bit their name, especially on LinkedIn, from Nihus Industry to Nihus Sour Industry? Have
I'm
you
pretty
realized that?
sure that happened years ago, 1 year ago. But
Nah. I don't think so because everything on the webpage is Nios Industries. But that's it off topic. And there's still a race between Nios and Skion, between, Hübner and Menno Holterman. But again, off
you're going
topic.
off
No,
topic, Jared.
I'm going off topic. Yeah, no, I like that. But I was checking at Nios and I found something interesting at Nios because their way they understand the digitalization is four steps. They are also a kind of framework. The first thing is remote controlling and monitoring data analyzing. So it goes in line with you. Intelligent sensors and smart algorithm goes also in line with you. But the third thing is it goes 3D printing and of materials. And the fourth is, engineering of the future. What they understand with that is it's about virtual and augmented reality to improve, the plant performance. So that is their understanding. And especially one point triggered me because, I mean, you are the expert. I mean, you are from GF, which is a global manufacturer of piping and so on and so on. Is there a way that we get in future devices or material 3D printed in our industry? Have you heard
Of
anything
course.
before going back to your framework? Okay, tell me about that. That's
Of course, you
interesting.
can have 3D printed elements. That is not new. The question is it desirable because it's not the same materials you would be using for 3D printing than the one you would be using just for your everyday product. So that's one thing. And the second is the cost. Usually, 3D printing on the long run is much more expensive than injection molding or whatever other kind. But we can do a deep dive on 3D printing versus something else, but I don't see the link with digitization. So you have The four step framework, where
I'm
step
just saying
three,
what our industry and what our
no,
industry is
but your
saying,
step
right?
three is
So
about 3D printing. Come on, what's that to do with digitization?
hey, I'm not saying that this is the perfect framework. I'm not just saying this is what our industry, what our, our companies in our industry understanding from digitalization. I'm just giving examples, right? I'm not blaming someone.
Okay, let's go back to my framework, which I find a
Good.
bit more solid. Sorry about that. Um, and let's start with the first element of this framework, which is about gathering data. So
Okay.
I'll share you just a small anecdote. I was once at a German company, a very famous German company. I'm not going to give names, and they wanted to go to digitization. So they wanted to do everything digital and to be fancy and to be the cool guys.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the data. Where's your data? I said, yeah, we have tremendous data. No, let's go to the next steps. No, where is your data? I said, okay, I take you to my data, and then we went to the basement, and in the basement they had meters and meters of papers. That was their data. And I'm sorry,
Mm,
digitization
mm,
starts there. You need to
mm.
start gathering data in the right form. And I'll give you the word in just 1 second, but I'm starting with a question. Um, Spotify.
Oh yeah. But I'm an Amazon Prime fan. Okay, so I
Okay,
know
but
Spotify,
it's
but
the
I'm Amazon
same.
Prime fan.
On Spotify,
Mhm.
how many of the songs have never been listened to by anyone?
Oh, good question. I don't know what I just got the advertising from Prime that they have 75 million songs.
Well, the answer is 20%. 20% of,
Really?
of the sounds have never been listened by anyone. The point where I want to head with that is that when you're putting your songs online, you have no way to know which ones will be hits and which ones will be just never listened by anyone. It's exactly the same when you're gathering data. You should be just gathering the data because you don't know at the moment you're gathering which one is going to be really important in the future. But if you have it, you're good to go. What do you
Yeah.
think of that?
I still have your example in my head, and I wanted to ask you whether it's the same with your videos on YouTube. That 20% of your. I know I don't want to say anything of that. No, just joking. Um,
That
you're
was
you're
mean.
Yeah, I know that. It just come, spontaneously. No, what? Let's say to add to your, to your story. Another thing is, I've been to a conference 2 years ago, and this conference, if I remember right, was in Frankfurt, and a lot of water companies were together, and we talked also about digitalization. And what I still have in my head that is that every supplier from a device from a technology said, yeah, we all want to go with digitalization, but the data are mine. So they didn't want they wanted to collect, they wanted to gather the data, but they wanted to kept it on their own. So my question I had at this point was, okay, what is the benefit for for the client or for someone who's operating these plants if you collect your data? With this, they couldn't give me an answer because it doesn't make any sense, right? If you don't work somehow together. The other thing is a little bit. I was talking to to a German company some time ago, and was for vacuum distillation. And he told me, hey, only we understand our data. So, and that, I mean, back to my question with the automotive industry, the automotive industry is going together. That means Mercedes is going together with Audi, with BMW up to a certain point. They develop something together. Think about our we have kids, right? So they are sitting in a safety share, and they are connected with the ISOFIX. So the ISOFIX, for instance, is developed by them together. Same with up to a certain point. The data connections and all these things, they are developed together up to a certain point before they go alone. Why are we are not able to define a standard in our industry that the companies, the suppliers for devices, for things like this, that they are working together and say that is the standard, and we are working this together out? Why is that not happen?
What tells you that it doesn't happen?
I don't have the feeling. I don't see that the companies are working together and sharing data. I mean, the conference example or the example from my German company giving me the feeling, hey, no, I don't want to share my data. I want to keep my data. I don't want that any other company has access to my data, even if they don't understand that. But I don't want to share that. That is my feeling.
the reason why I'm asking is let's look at two different users of the pyramid. I mean, the water industry, most of the time, what we define as the industry is all these EPCs, OEM integrators, which are in the middle. But if you take the other end of the industry, so the end user or the operator, and you take the supplier, the end user, how does the interface look like for him? Most of the time, it's going to be a web platform or a touch screen on a PLC. So, I mean, the
Hmm.
output is common and defined for everybody, right? And on the other end of the pyramid, you have the supplier, and the supplier is building products. And those products, if they are digital, they are connected to something. And what do you have to connect those products to something? Can be 420 milliamps. Then I guess everybody's using that. Everybody knows how to use that, and that is standard. Could be Modbus, Profibus, Ethernet, and basically
Whatever it
that's
is,
it.
whatever it is, my feeling is that is more a commercial reason why they don't want to do that. I mean, the keyword here is predictive maintenance, right? So everybody wants to know when his device going down, because then he can go to the client and say, hey, you need a new one, and I want to sell you this new one. Right, that is the idea. That's why they don't want to, they don't want to share the data with others.
But that's my point. You say it's commercial, but I'm just asking: is it just commercial? Or is it also marketing? Because honestly, are you 100% sure that you could not access that data if the end user, which is the proprietary of the data according to GDPR, gives you access to it?
I don't know so far. I know only that the companies are not really willing to work together to cooperate. Called take it this way.
Okay, let me just take a breathe here, and I'll
Okay.
share you 15 seconds with two extracts, and then we discuss it.
Okay.
So shocking to me being a newbie in water was how black box and closed off these ecosystems are in water.
I think that the industry is at its best when everyone is sharing what they do.
Hey, exactly my point. Exactly my point.
Exactly your point. Absolutely. And the
So
reason why I'm
why is it
saying
why
here,
is it not possible? I don't get it in my head. If you want
that's
to
what I'm
bring
questioning.
this to the next level, why is it not possible?
That's what I'm questioning. Because honestly, I can give you the example of what we've done at GF Piping Systems.
Mhm.
5 or 6 years ago, we've launched a service which is called Track and Trace. And when we launched that service, it was proprietary. So you could not
Mhm.
access it if you were someone else.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then we discussed with the market. That was a first attempt at digitization. And when we discussed with the market told us, guys, this is nuts. We are never going to use something which is closed. And they were very clear and they were very straightforward. So we had to change just because at some point you're never inventing anything as a company. You're just stealing the ideas from your customers and applying it. And we redid our product and then it was open source. And that is exactly what Luke Butler is saying in that extract. He's saying, we have two ways to do it. The first way is to say, oh God, I want to protect everything. Or the second way is to say, I have probably a benefit with this open source approach. And I think that this change is ongoing. If you take the softwares that we had to run plants
Mhm.
or networks in the 90s, they were fully closed. I can give you an example. I was at a city in France and they showed me the way they're operating both their plants and their networks. And they had to run MS DOS on a Windows 8 computer just because that bloody software was still in MS DOS. But it was a closed environment, and they didn't want to take the hundred of thousands it takes to make a custom software to just redo everything. But that is a thinking and a mindset
Mhm.
from the 90s. I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure
Mhm.
that in
Mhm.
2020, it's different.
I mean, there's an interesting point just came in by Alexander Crowell. He's saying, "Hey, there's someone at the sideline, the public, right? This is also needs to be considered, right? Especially if you're talking about MS DOS and so on. This
If you're
goes
taking
along
that
with
one,
your
I had an
yeah.
interesting discussion on with the founder, David Lynch, the founder of Clear, and what he
Mhm.
said me. Um, he told me, we shall be cautious with what we give to the public. So to me, that is again a fully different story because we have to be. I mean, um, I don't know how much that translates in English, but in French we're saying like between stealers, you don't learn to steal. Like we are between us with the water industry. We shouldn't be hiding things just because we know what it is. It's water, and we know what the matter is. But if you give to the public 1 million information, that's going to be scary to them, because if you have no clue what a water treatment plant is, and suddenly you say, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, eight grams of COD is coming on me, I'm going to die. Well, if you don't know that it's harmless, yes, you're going to die.
True.
you,
But
you see my
let's
point?
get yeah, yeah, absolutely. But let's come back a little bit to your framework, that we have a little bit some idea where we go along. But before that, I would like to ask just Sheldon, to what do you mean with breach? I don't really get it. I have an idea, but I'm not sure. Maybe you can clarify this for me. Anyway, I mean, if we are still back, let's say in your framework, then
Step
we have
one,
also
gathering the
step
data.
one. So that means we have to talk also about smart water, right? Do we?
We should.
We should. We should. So that means if we talk about smart water, then we should consider one thing. I would like to show right now. It's a surprise because even Antoine has no clue. So what I want to what I want to show is, guys, smart water is not what is in the bottle, right? This is an advertising. This is a branch of Coca-Cola where they produce water which is distilled, and then they add all the minerals, and then they sell it for a very, very, very high price.
These
And
are
they are
the
saying
water.
then, and they at the same time they are saying smart is the new sexy. I mean, Jennifer maybe is sexy, but the water is not smart. Okay, just joke aside, maybe we can come back to the topic. Smart water means also for me that we have devices who are able, yeah, to operate more or less on their own, right? So that means they can control the conditions they are applied for. For instance, if you take an agitator, that an agitator can react on the different water flow, or a pump can control its own drive and its own speed up to a certain level. These are the kind of smart water things we are talking about. My question here is, are companies, for instance, like Xylem, they have a lot of devices. Are they a little bit, let's say, in the pole position if it comes to the small smart meter? And can they a little bit, with the carrot and the stick, to come back to Sheldon's picture recently, can they, push a little bit the market with their dominance due to the fact that they have these kind of products?
I have the feeling you're reinventing the wheel. I
Mhm.
have the feeling that is not digitization at all. That's called process automation. I mean, what is
Yeah,
process
but
automation all about? Process automation is you have one thing that can be moving. So it can be, let's
mhm.
say, a valve, it can be an agitator, it can be whatever you want it to be. And you have one thing which is giving you a trigger, which is most of the time a sensor. And what you're saying is, hey, I'm calling this smart because whenever my suspended solids are too much sedimenting at the bottom of my tank, I shall put
Mhm.
my agitator. I just call
Mhm.
it the way the water industry is working for 30, 40 years, which is my suspended solids indicate that it's too low, then my agitator goes up. And that's it.
But isn't that exactly what, for instance, Nice was saying? If they say, "Hey, smart meter, what are they saying? They are
Quatsch.
saying
Exactly what you're
in
saying. Quatsch.
intelligent sensors and smart algorithms." This is exactly what they do, right? So that means they have devices and they get a signal, and then they control themselves due to the fact that the signal is saying, "Hey,
No,
the flow is like this, the flow is like that." This is
that's where I
what the
disagree.
industry, but this is the, the point is that this is how the industry understands digitalization.
I think we have to distinguish two different things, and then I can
Mhm.
maybe it's two different level of process automation, and one of them can be digitization. The full point about it is, as long as it's simple, I mean, trigger, action, reaction. That is not digitization. Even if in between you don't have a wire and it's going through Wi-Fi, okay, it's a digital way, but come on, that's not digitization. That's just process automation. Let's call a cat, if you will. The thing is, what's digitization, and that was a bit my example with Deep Blue. Deep Blue was beating Gary Kasparov just
Mm.
because in 1997, roughly, when they did the second match, that was the point where the human brain got outpaced by the computer. And nowadays, computers are incredibly better than our brains. So if it comes to computing a lot of inputs, like I don't know if my agitation shall be on or off, and I have 1,000 different indicators coming from the network and from the plant and from the NASA or whatever you want. How do I do that? With my humble brain, I cannot do that. But a computer can just run a simulation and say, okay, I do that. So that is digitization. So to me, those are two different stuff, two different levels. And
But would you agree that the industry understands digitalization also in the way how you call it process automation?
okay, would you agree that the industry understands digitization the way she wants to understand it on a marketing level?
Yeah, maybe we are wrong and they are right because they are the industry.
Everything is smart. Everything nowadays is smart. I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah,
expect my water.
the smart water is not smart.
Yeah,
By
but
example,
smart is in all the names.
true.
Everything has to be smart nowadays. If you don't come with, and now I really sound like a boomer. I get it, but
Mhm.
if you want it to be smart, make it smart. Don't just pretend it is. So that's my point. And process automation is not a swear word. Process automation is exactly what enables you to 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 run a plant from kilometers away and never touch it. It's what enables you to be in an industrial process with
Okay,
operators which don't want to
that's
touch the water. That's
perfect.
awesome. Process
Perfect.
automation is awesome, but it's not
Okay,
digitization.
perfect. That brings us to the next thing, right? Augmented reality. This was also somewhere, mentioned
Level two,
in the NIOS. So we are going from level one, from your level one to level two. So augmented reality,
the digital twin.
the digital twin. So that means what I know, for instance, from Veolia. Veolia, they have implemented the Hubgrade. The Hubgrade is, in principle, is smart platform, right, where everything comes together. So that means it's a platform, the kind of software, so that all the data from the plant going into the software, and they can, wherever the Veolia branch is, they can control, and they can check, they can analyze the data which are coming in, and then they can operate the plan. And the interesting fact is that it comes more and more to the point that they just go with augmented reality and with their VR, glasses, that they go online. I found a couple of interesting, case studies, especially from Veolia, where they're saying, hey, we can have, the service, we can have the maintenance, we can have also the fat test. This was pretty interesting. They did a fat test, fabrication acceptance test by a supplier. So that means the end user, Veolia, went with the with the glasses to the supplier. They checked the installation and they approved that before this was shipped to the installation. That was pretty interesting. So the question is augmented reality the future?
Okay, you discussed about Mercedes. How
Hey, come
many
on.
Mercedes?
I'm talking about the industry. I'm
And
talking about
I'm
augmented
coming back to
reality.
that. You're going to see the link. You're going to see the link. How
Okay.
many Mercedes SL 300 AMG were produced?
Sorry, I don't know. I can't afford this car. Maybe you can, but I'm
Exactly.
not.
You cannot afford this car, so you don't buy it. But
True.
if you go to the magazines and to the videos and everything, what do you see? Do you see a Mercedes Class A that everybody can have? No. You see the Mercedes SL 300 AMG because that makes you dream. That
It's a
is,
flagship.
it's a flagship. And so now
Mhm.
you're saying me that Veolia, I'm so surprised, did a clever marketing move and was
Oh,
doing uh,
oh. Okay, you are saying
maintenance in augmented
okay,
reality. Oh, that is incredible. I bet you they don't do that in every single plan they have in the world, which is quite much more than just the one or two, which might be in the case studies.
but isn't that the case that also GF, also NIOS, all the
Of
others, they
course.
are using this so
All the ones
as
which have a sound
the,
understanding of marketing do that. I mean, all the ones
so
that
what?
work with you
Okay,
probably do
I
that.
understand marketing. Maybe I do not understand the technical part, but let's say, what do you mean with that? It's all fake.
No, I'm not saying it's all fake. I'm just saying it's like if you have a nail and you have to put that nail in some wood. Whether you take a hammer, it's going to work, or you take a nuclear missile, it's going to work as well. But you
Hmm.
don't need that. So if you, what happens? I mean, your thing tells you, oh, you need to shut down that valve. You have two ways to go to that valve. The first is to say, third corridor right, and then it's the valve number 4, and there's a tag on top of it which says valve number 73. Or you take your VR goggles, you start immersing yourself, and maybe you can put some music. That Björn, you do know that that's never going to happen in a real life and in a real plant. I mean, operators are too busy to play around with VR. And Trust me, we are even at GF, we are doing trainings in VR. And
Mhm.
that's really cool in terms of image because we are giving everyone this image that we are at the same level than the industry. But still, when you have to weld, you're welding with the machine. You're not welding with the VR goggles.
Yeah, okay, in terms of welding, but in terms of understanding how the process works, I mean, I remember once I did a commissioning in Calcutta, India, right? So I went there, 12 hours flight, right? So went there to get the installation on operation. So I mean, to save all the cost, to save all the time, I could do the same in somewhere in Germany if I would have access to that. That I mean, that is a point. I mean, I went there, right, and said, okay, this blower, switch it on. Switch it on, was broken. I went back. So I could do the same stuff. So the same stuff of commissioning, I could do it from home.
I'm not saying throw the baby away with the bath. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you tell me there's a digital twin and you can leverage that digital twin, of course, there are now BIM models of the plant. You can run all the commissioning before going actually to the plant and commissioning it. You could even have run the full piloting of the plant before building the plant. So there, I fully agree with you. I'm just reacting like that because you're saying
Mm.
augmented reality. You don't need augmented
I,
reality to do that. If you have
I'm
Skype or Zoom or whatever, it works as well. You have your guy there, and he's going to tell you, "Oh, what should I do?" Yeah, you're sitting in your basement, and still you can work to do your commissioning in Kolkata. That would work.
But isn't it? I mean, we all have been on a plant, right? I mean, to get a touch, to get a feeling, to get how that really works. You get this kind of feeling only if you are there, or you get it with the augmented reality. You will not get it with, I don't know, if I just call the operator over there and say, "Hey, switch on the PLC, check this number, check this parameter, do this and this and this." I don't get the feeling how it really works. I get the feeling if I am be there.
Unless the water industry became really different from what I know from the water industry, I don't see things you're mentioning commissioning, but commissioning is typically the thing where it never goes to 100% by the plan. So I don't see commissioning happening without people going there to commission. You can prepare
but
it
but but exactly
cleverly.
that. Yeah, but okay, I got your point. But I get your point. But exactly the fact that they said in their case study, even the fat test was done this way was pretty interesting, because with the augmented reality you can go a little bit into the installation also. You can see more than, let's say, if there would be a camera with zoom, right? So I mean, it doesn't really work.
That's a BIM model. That's and that's a 3D plant, and that is absolutely cool. And you should have that all the time. Yes, we're in 2022. You should have that. Just stop bothering me with your augmented reality, and then we agree. I
Okay,
propose you to
okay.
take a more interesting example, and also from Veolia, just for me to say that I'm not just shitting on their augmented reality. Maybe some other stuff are better, but that brings us to part three, which is the digital twin is now active. So see the difference. In stage two, you have a digital twin. You can be working
Uh-huh.
with it, but you are still operating. In stage three, the digital twin is running by itself and is doing some computation. And I remember that case because it was shared on my podcast microphone, and it was episode 2 or 3 of my podcast. So when I was still much younger and asking candid questions, and Thomas De Bruyne from Veolia shared me some
Zoo is at
examples.
this time. Zoo is at this time, right?
No, it was he was from Veolia,
Okay.
and he shared an example from blue coding, and blue
Mhm.
coding is a case in Denmark, and he was saying that thanks to a digital twin running actively on the plant, they were able to have minus 46% on chemical dosing, minus 23% on energy consumption, minus 83 on sewer overflow, and plus 80% hydraulic capacity. So without having to invest, just by operating the plant slightly better thanks to the digital twin, they're bringing
Mhm.
all of that. So not saying you should have that everywhere. I'm just saying exactly what I said before. The computer has a better brain than the human, hence can find some optimization.
Goes in line with what I stated in the beginning. We don't need to be just engineers anymore. We need to also do understand the software, the IT world, all the language. We need to understand this. So,
But
which goes in line with my argument, right? That we
yes,
need in
no,
future. In future,
no,
we need to understand more.
So
because we
yes,
need to have the digital twin, because digital twin can, can really have some savings for the operator, especially in OPEX.
absolutely. But why do you need to have IT knowledge? You don't need to program that. You need to understand what the digital twin is suggesting you. If the digital twin tells
Hmm.
you you shall,
Yeah, but who is bringing the digital plan to life? Who is, is feeding the digital twin with data? Who is, setting this up in the right language and is connecting to gather the right data, and so on and so on. To bring it to the to this level, you need an engineer who understand how wastewater treatment plants work.
yeah, but that's where you're contradicting yourself, because you were saying we shall
No,
have
no, 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 no,
we
no,
shall
no.
have standards, which means it's not every plant which is doing their own stuff. We'll be using common softwares, but then the engineers still need to understand what the suggestion is. If I tell
No,
you your MLSS is down, so if your
yeah,
MLSS is down, what do? You turn up your aeration.
yeah,
And so if the computer tells me I've run all the simulation and you shall put it up, and I'm like, okay, that sounds about right. But then
yeah.
if yeah, you still need to have this critical eye. So you need to understand the process.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not going
yeah.
to vanish.
You're fully right. You're fully right. But let's say you have to go
No,
one step
of
before that.
course.
You have to go one step before. Who is feeding the digital twin? Who is, setting up the digital twin? The digital twin is not coming from zero.
That's an
That
important
is the
point you're
point.
raising.
Yeah,
Because
because
how
you
long
need
do
an you need to understand how wastewater treatment plan works to build up a digital twin. You cannot say to someone else, "Hey, build me that app." No, it doesn't work. You have to feed him with data.
what you're just saying is that you need to have a teaching phase for your digital twin.
No, I'm just saying you need a hybrid model in terms of engineering and IT knowledge.
And I don't get why that should be the same person. It's just nonsense. You have companies which are doing only that, which are doing the
Mm,
digitization
mm,
and
mm, mm, mm,
starting up your model or starting up your machine learning or starting up whatever it is. And then you have other people which you call operators, which have to still understand their plant, and the model
mm,
is not going to grease a pump. So
mm, mm. Okay, let me simplify that. Do you think a salesperson should understand the process, or
of
can a
course,
salesperson just be the expert in selling?
okay, I know where you're heading, but no, the sales the sales guy shall understand the engineering, of course.
It's the same. It's the same example. It's the same. You need to understand what the other side is doing. So that means you need to have an understanding of the IT, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so what you're saying is that it's like when we know that you have to know how to say, I'd like to have a beer in all the languages because that's important. It's the common basic thing you need to know in other languages. Then, if that's what you're saying, I agree. You need to understand the basics of software, and the software guys needs to understand the basics of engineering. But it doesn't mean that all the engineers all of a sudden become half hydraulic and environmental engineer, half software programmers. That's a different skill set. It's not the
I'm
same
not saying
people.
half. I'm not saying half, but you need a different skill set, definitely. And even if you
What are you
have the
saying?
basics,
95.5?
you're just saying basics. But even if you have the basics, you have to change your skill set. That's what you have to do.
Of course, you always have to adapt.
Absolutely. So do you agree with me?
I agree with what I said that you thought. I'm not agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with the digital twin of you, which I just built.
Okay, but
Hey,
coming back to the question, let's say, I mean, you said that this year we will see the first fully automated wastewater treatment plant. Where is it?
level 4.
Level 4.
That
Where's
is
it?
level
Where's this
4,
plan?
and
Okay, where's the
that is
plan?
what's crazy. Because recall, level 3, the plant is giving you insights. So
Hmm.
by level 3, the plant has everything it needs. It has the data. It has the model which was built and which was taught and which was learned and which has everything, and it gives you hints. It could be operating. It could
Hmm.
fully be operating. We are just not daring to let it operate.
Why?
I was expecting you, but
You,
I
I
know
mean,
what you're
you are
going to
you are
say.
you are saying this year we will see one plan. So again, the
Yes.
question is, where is it? Where is this plan?
Well, probably at the very beginning, it's going to be on the extreme cases. I mean, if you're running a factory which is at the other end of the world, and that factory needs some water, then probably that's the place where I would start to do everything in full automatic modus and to let it run, and just with the operator which can have an eye on it and verify that the machine is doing right, but the machine is operating. So that's
Mm,
where it's going to
mm.
start. So I would say somewhere in the basement of an industrial site, because and on an industry which is not super critical because everybody's cautious. But honestly, I don't know for what we're cautious. We're not discussing of something which is brand new from 2021. Process modeling was around in the 90s, and it was fully able to run a plant. I'm I stand my point. Running a plant is not more complex than chess.
Hmm. True, that this underlines my Mercedes example. But let's say I was digging a little bit deep into this topic, and I found something from also from Veolia. I mean, the plant automation must be from an APC, and I found Aqua Vista. Aqua Vista by Veolia is a kind of digital twin, and
Aquavista is
they
just the former commercial name of Upgrade. It's the same thing.
okay. So I'm telling you what I have found, and you are telling me what the right thing is. Okay, got it. So, and they did this task with the digital twin in Milano, so the biggest wastewater twin plant in Milano, and they are claiming that theoretically they could run this entire plant by the digital twin.
Repeat your sentence. Just the beginning of your sentence.
No, you
No,
can
just repeat the beginning of your sentence. I'm not sure I got you. Yeah, you
they
said
are claiming
they're claiming that.
theoretically
Oh, that's the word, theoretically. So that means they're at level 3. It's not level 4.
correct, but they could switch to level 4 if they want.
All of the
That's what.
plants in this world could be at level 4. That's what I'm
Yeah, but
saying.
why nobody is doing this? I don't
Because
get it.
let's be serious for 1 second. Because
Okay.
it's a serious thing. It's water. And
Yeah.
if let's take back your example of the car. If Mercedes does an awesome car and the service is excellent and the
Mhm.
reliability is excellent and the customer is happy, Mercedes wins. If now our customers, our water customers, receive excellent water. I mean, they love the way we send the bills, they love the way we treat the network, and they love the taste of our water. So, really, we deliver awesome service. But one
Mhm.
day, every decade, for 1 minute, we deliver water which is not potable, then we fail.
Hmm.
Our
Okay, that's
aim
your
is
explanation.
only
Okay.
the full water industry is only in that business to be compliant. Our customers are allowed to hate us. They can say we have the shittiest service ever. If we are 100% compliant, we do our job right. And that's,
Mm.
of course, the reason why would you take a risk? Why would you go for
Hmm.
something which might make you operate a bit better, which might reduce your energy levels, which might save you
Hmm.
some capex, some opex,
Hmm.
when you're taking even a slight risk that at some times of the year you're not compliant? And that's why we're so conservative. We're just conservative by design.
Hey, come on. I'm recently I talked to Kobi Nagar from 374 Water, and he said, "Hey, we are boring industry, and we agreed that we are boring conservative industry, but we are not. We are not. Just to say that. But I think even with your glasses, you don't see the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is the cyber attacks. That goes is a step prior what you are saying, because we all know companies, and I know personally a company who was attacked by cyber attacks, which were exactly Sheldon mentioned this, or he was asking this. I know personally a company who was attacked by some bandits, call it this way, and in the end they paid the fine. But this is not what we are talking about. We are talking really about the case as we had last year, for instance, in Florida, in Oldmore. There, the bandits took over an entire water treatment plant, and they changed the dosing for the sodium hydroxide from 100 parts per million to 11,000 parts per million. So they poisoned the water. Luckily, someone from the people realized that, and they changed that, or they could overrule that. But this is exactly the big elephant in the room, isn't it?
Let me play the devil's advocate. Did that water go out of the
Mhm.
plant?
For my knowledge, not.
Exactly. And so I know I've been discussing that with cyber specialists, which told me, yeah,
Mhm.
that's the one, because there was no problem. at the end of the day, the water was not going out of the plant, so that's why they allow the news to go out. But that's a bit of a
True.
conspiracy theory. Yes, there's a risk.
So what is your
Yes.
point? This is not true, this case, or there are many others,
No, I'm
or
saying
what is
the case is absolutely true, but it's
Mhm.
harmless as well. Because,
Absolutely, luckily it is harmless, right?
and if you're a conspiracy theory guy, you're saying, what a coincidence. We hear about a cyber attack, which was not problematic. So you need, that's what I was mentioning. Now coming back
So
to,
so
yes,
between the lies, you are saying there are many more we don't
I'm not
see in the
saying,
news
I'm saying that when
because
I,
someone is
that,
poisoning our water.
that's what people usually tell me when I'm
Mm.
raising that argument. They're telling me, but you don't hear about all the others. But I don't hear neither about the UFO and the aliens. So maybe I'm just not connecting to the right news. Could be. So what I'm saying is that, um, yes, there's a risk, but
Mm.
everything in life is about balancing risk and benefits. And it's a bit, this comment which I just highlighted just a minute ago. Um,
Yeah, got good point
the
from
compliance, how often
yeah.
are we compliant when it comes to wastewater? There was this study, because the
Mm.
story in Florida, everybody heard it. All of a sudden, that one, everybody knows it. And as soon as you say digitization, people tell you, like Florida, everybody knows that story. And on the other hand, there was this study in the UK on two sewer. So exactly what this comment is highlighting. And that story was that they've been using artificial intelligence and machine learning to have a look at how many times the two wastewater treatment plants were discharging to the river and were not reaching the levels of quality they should. And they expected those numbers to be like between 5 and 10, and it ended up being at 800. So over the time frame they looked at, 800 times they were discharging levels which are just stupidly crazy, or which were not within the the the,
Mm.
the compliance level.
Mm.
And that is the very simple uses that an automated plant, a digital plant, could be just preventing. Because a plant is able to detect patterns. And if you see the pattern that you're going to go above the limit, then you can do something about it. Whereas as an operator, we work as on off. And I can recall my own example. I was working on a wastewater treatment plant for 6 months. And when I was doing that, honestly, we were coming into the SCADA room, and the SCADA room was like, Christmas tree, like lights everywhere. And
Yeah.
when it was really becoming really, really red, we thought, okay, let's do something about it. But in many other cases, when it's just orange, or you just say, I don't do it, and then you put turbo mode. Turbo mode always works. Uh, It's
True.
killing you in terms of energy consumptions, but it always
Mm.
works. So,
Mm. Mm.
yeah,
But a little bit back
risk,
to the
benefit.
to the level 4. Are you still think that we will see a full automated plant this year?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I doubt, honestly, that it's going to be on the municipal side of things. So that's why I'm pretty sure that your Vilde case in Milano, they could be doing fully
Yeah.
automated. I'm not sure they will. And if it was on the municipal side, then most probably it's going to be on the wastewater side, because come on, if we kill some fishes, nobody's going to make a big fuss about it. I'm being ironic here. Don't take me literally. I'm just saying that, unfortunately, that's the way things are. So long before we automate a drinking water plant, which is probably easier to automate, by the way, um, we will be doing it on wastewater. And I think before we do it on municipal wastewater, we will do it on industrial wastewater, because industrial wastewater somehow.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, there are pretty interesting comments here in from our you there. I mean, Alexander was pretty clear. So, engineering question: the current engineering system is broken. We always need engineers, but the tools they don't use. Yeah, very interesting. There was something more, a change of skill set. Need to learn to communicate clearly, so that models can be put in software language. Yeah, but if you want to put something in the software language, then you need not only to communicate clearly, to communicate clearly, you need also to understand what is the language about, right? So same as someone else is the other way around. Interesting stuff is coming around. So what do you have,
I had
Joseph?
pins a couple of ones, more from the
Yeah.
ones you used. So that one from Joseph saying that what we learn in the faculty will state our basics and our credential. Without our academic backgrounds, engineers will just be operators sitting facing the screen. I fully agree with that. Um, it's I think you have a point, nevertheless, Björn, because if I recall
Oh.
personally, my engineering school,
Mm.
we had like 30 hours of drawing with a pen and a sheet
Yeah.
of paper. And honestly, I don't see who does that, who in the world does that. So that's the kind of thing which could be changed
Yeah.
to, I don't know, a course on AutoCAD or something like that. But the basics of understanding how the process works and what is the cycle of carbon, the cycle of nitrogen, the cycle of phosphates, or on the other end of the scope,
Mm.
what is a cyanobacteria, or what is a cryptosporidium, and why you should be disinfecting your water. I mean, all of those basics have to stay, even if the computer helps a lot
Absolutely.
in doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need the understanding from the one side and you need the understanding from the other side as well. So
I think you said
hybrid model, hybrid.
you said it very rightly when we were discussing of how stupid I am, because it happened to me that once in a podcast episode I forgot to plug my microphone. So I was speaking in my microphone, but in fact my microphone was not plugged. And you said when a plane is taking off, the pilot has
Mhm.
his checklist. And I
Mhm.
think that's what we have to keep in mind as water engineers. It's like our checklist. Even if we are no longer doing ourselves everything on the checklist, we still have to know, just in case one day something goes wrong, each line of this checklist must be familiar to us. So even if it's
Absolutely.
greasing a pump, or even if it's deciding if you go for turbo mode or normal aeration, that's the kind of stuff you have to understand how that works.
True. Very true. I think we are running a little bit out of time, right? So, I mean, let's take Hilal again. You need to understand how software works. What are the equations used to the automation knowledge? How to solve mass equation used?
That's the part where we disagreed with Björn. I mean, to me, it's what you're discussing, Hilal. I fully agree, but it's not digitization. It's process automation. You need to understand the logic, and hence to be able to transfer that into a control
But
logic and into process automation.
but again, this is our. I mean, this is your understanding, but the
Yeah,
understanding from the industry
I'm subjective.
is this, right?
If all the industry is wrong and I'm right, I'm fine with it.
All right,
Okay, you're right.
let's
Watching the time.
let's switch to the last section because I think there's some pretty good news we have to announce, not announce, but
Björn, you have some news.
oh, definitely. Well, I do not. I'm not. I'm just the messenger. I don't. It's not my news, but the news are coming from Nihus. Nihus was pretty active over the last couple of weeks because he acquired not just one. They acquired two companies. The first one was PWNT, which is a commercial subsidiary of North Holland drinking water company. So they are stepping also in this kind of drinking water world for whatever reason, because normally Nihus was very, very industrial. But beside that, they got also access, and guess what? They get access to technology, ceramic membrane technology. So it looks for me that there is a kind of race between Skion with Sembrane and now Snihus to be the new number one in the EPC world here in Europe. And also, they acquired another company, which is also pretty interesting, which is the Biosis Group. Hopefully, I said this right. A Dutch company focusing on a nitrogen recovery stripped out from high contaminated substrate. We all know where this is coming in place. We are talking about anaerobic wastewater treatment plants, and we know that they have a very, very strong force in that direction. So, is there a race between between Skion and Nihus? It looks a little bit. What's your news?
I don't have any news because I
You
knew
don't
you
have
were
any
going to
news.
bring that one up, and I had it as well. Of course, we're reading the same sources, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you think? Is there a kind of race between Hübner and Holtermann, between Skion and Nijhuis, about to be really the new number one? I mean, I mean, look at this. I mean, from the market perspective, Veolia is taking over Suez, so they're becoming a huge company, right? But also they are on the in the transition period.
Transition
So
phase, it will
to
be a bit
yeah, exactly. So you will
long.
lose in this. You will lose in this period. You will lose customer. Will lose confidence. You will lose people. So that's by fact. That's by nature. That's by commercial law. So are these two companies going into this, spot and saying, "Hey, now it's the time. Let's go in. Let's try to push them even harder, get to find new customers from them." Is that a little bit their strategy? What do you see? What is your look on this?
Hard to say. I'm not that clever to that extent. Um, it reminds me of the episode we did, which was about who is going to be acquired next, and we were
Yeah.
joking about it. And honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know if we're joking about it now because it seems like this consolidation hasn't stopped. There's still
No,
stuff
no.
ongoing. Um, and if you look a bit, and that's I think you're the specialist of that. If you look at the valuation of companies, some of the companies we have currently out there in the market have valuation which I would just question what
Mm,
makes them be that high and some
mm,
others that low. So
mm,
there's something ongoing. I can't put my finger on it, honestly. Some of them are going very vertical, saying, I want to really take that full vertical. That's a bit the approach you're regularly addressing with Grundfos, for instance. And
mm,
some others are going very horizontal, like Nihus doing right now, which is to say,
mm,
whatever process you will need in your plant, I
mm,
have it. It's part
mm.
of my portfolio. I'm not going to the bolts and
Exactly.
nuts.
But it's the
Someone
same.
is
It's
going to do the bolts and
same.
nuts.
Same with Skion, right? Skion. I mean, they did a
Exactly.
big move
Exactly.
with all the companies. They have Vivo. They have now Enviro, and they have all the technology brands. And interesting race. I think there's something ongoing.
I think it's not over. Clearly not.
No, definitely not.
I would have lots of theories of why it's not over, and lots of theories of what can be transformative again in that industry. Most of them probably are wrong, and probably that's the reason why I get these kind of comments. I'm sorry, Alexander. I don't know what from all the bullshit I've said. I don't know which one pissed you. Just tell me, and I'd be happy to explain further. But jokes aside, I think we shall maybe in a close future have a look at those tectonic plates moving.
Yeah.
We, because we looked at it from the company's perspective. I think we have to look at it from what's moving in the bigger picture, which makes companies react to that. Because
Mm.
what we're seeing is a reaction. It's not the source of it, and I think we have to put our finger on that.
I love it. I love it. Anyway, I think we are coming to the end, Antoine. Right? Was a great show. I
I think
think
we
we
didn't
agreed.
disagree on everything. I'm a bit
I
worried.
think, but I think we agreed that, let's say, we need at least some knowledge. Even with your study, you're saying that you was not so happy with that in the end, and you agreed a lot of points with me. That's new for me, so I have to digest this first.
Good. So jokes aside and private jokes aside, thanks all
Absolutely.
for having been with us. That was a
Yeah.
pleasure. It's a renewed pleasure. I have to say here that show after show, we have better audiences, more people watching us, more people listening to us. And
Yes.
to us, it's a
Yes.
blessing, not because we are looking at numbers, but just because that means that we are a bit connecting those topics together and the industry together, humbly from our place. But that's really heartwarming. You don't see all the preparation, all the behind the scenes, but we are working and pouring our souls into delivering you the best show every month. So, if there's anything you believe we could be doing better in the future, please come to us and tell us. We are really happy to get some feedback. Um, and if you have some topics which we still miss and we just let it go over our noses, just tell us. We are really looking to that. But my conclusion there is really thanks a lot. Thanks to all of you. Couldn't be possible without you. Even
Great.
without you, Björn, couldn't be possible.
Thank you, Antoine. I can just give it back. Thanks a lot. I think you made a great statement and great final words. Thanks a lot. See you next
See you
time.
next month.
Thanks for being here. Thank you, guys.